Yes, so training as a woman, you might think, well, what are you talking about? I am a woman, I do train as a woman, how else can I do it? The reason I'm talking about these 5 pillars of how you can improve your performance as a woman, female athlete, is because traditionally, most of the training methodology is based on sports science, which is based on male athletes, and there's lots of reasons why there are things that have not been considered in the past for female runners and triathletes. And nowadays, of course, there are so many of us running and involved in endurance sports. So lots of races now have a 50-50 split in gender participation, which is absolutely amazing. And now there's more of us going into triathlon as well. And so having a better understanding of how we should train as a woman for our physiology and for our lifestyle. So lots of the 5 points that I am going to pick up on are things that apply to men and women, but there are different ways of how we should look at it compared to men. And also what we're about is also empowering both female athletes out there and female coaches. So there are a lot of great male coaches around there, but it'd be nice to have more women coaches out there for all the many, many women now who are training for in endurance sports. So we're going through 5 main points about how you can train as a woman, and that can transform your performance. Strategy, stability, stage, by which we mean life stage and menstrual cycle as well, sleep, recovery, and stick to it for consistency. Have you seen how I've tried to tie all S's together there? So for your number 1, the strategy. So men and women need to think about their strategy, but how I like to say it for female athletes, let's just skip down. I might end up there. I don't know whether can you see that? I don't know if anyone can comment if you can see that screen there. So how I like to say, in our Facebook community, we have a big Facebook community. Good, thanks, Nicola. a big Facebook community, and at the beginning of every year, we talk about how to prepare your training diary and your training plan, your year ahead. And now in particular, that's quite a good time to talk about this as well, because of COVID and the lockdown. Suddenly everything is going to start opening up. The races, everyone's already, I don't know whether you've noticed, there's event and races popping up for 2021 all over Facebook. And that desire to do something and get back into it is likely to make lots of us just scattergun go and enter loads of races. So what I like to talk to female athletes about, and I consider everybody an athlete, as long, it doesn't matter whether you're a 40 minute 5K or a sub 17 5K. If you're training for improvement, then I think you're an athlete. So a good way of looking at it as a woman is thinking about, what does your life look like now, and drawing circles. So if your life at the moment, how big's your work circle? How big's your me time? How big's your fitness, friends, family? And then, because I think it's a really good time to reflect and have that time before you just go and enter lots of races, and then draw those circles how you would want them to look. So that gives you a really good idea. So say your work circle is massive and you really want that to be not take up so much part of your life, and you want your me time and your fitness to be bigger, then you need to, think about how you can make those changes. The flip side is, if your work takes a big circle, your family takes up a big chunk of your time because of perhaps the life stage you're at, and you think, I want to do an Ironman or an ultra, then you might need to rethink that. I'm never saying like nothing is impossible, but it could be that your life stage, that's not a good time to do it. And you might think, okay, in 3 years' time, that's going to be my goal, but I'm going to work backwards, because in 3 years' time, I'll have that more space to do that, and it won't be so stressful trying to fit it in. So you want to set your year up for success. I think what I see lots and lots of women do is enter races and events scattergun approach, and that sets you up for failure, really, because you can't possibly fit in the training that you need without getting injured to try and train for multiple events. So the next thing I'd suggest is, once you have that kind of picture of what you want your life to look like in terms of the balance within it, with your family, work, fitness, running, friends, all that kind of thing, then you choose your A race. You choose what is the race of that year that you just really want to focus on, and it's going to tick all the boxes for you in terms of sense of achievement, your challenge, what your challenge is going to be, why you want to do it, where it is, all of those things, whether other people are training for it as well. Choose that A race and be strict about it, because it's so easy to choose one race and then go, oh, but that one looks really good. Oh, and that one looks really good. And then you look at your race diary and you have a road marathon, a mountain ultra, a 10K, and obstacle race you're doing with your friends. And suddenly you're stressed because you've got to figure out how you're going to manage childcare, how you're going to fit the training in with with juggling work. So choose your A race and then work back from that A race and fit in tuning races, those races other races that are going to take you to that goal, not undermine your goal. So that for me is number one. You strategize for success right from the word go. And then we're going to move on to our strength and stability, and why this is so important. So for women, for all runners, male and female, strength work is so important, but we very rarely do it because we think, well, I've only got a certain amount of time in my day. I don't have time to strength train anyway. But strength training really helps to make you more efficient, and that means less injury time, less time out, more consistency, and efficiency means better performance. So strength training is not just an aside that you do. If you can fit it in, it should form part of your training. It's really important. And if any of you caught my kettlebell session this morning, you'll see that took me 9 minutes to do a kettlebell session. So you can fit it in. It's all just about, as our tagline is, train smart to race happy. So everything we do on our platform is with women in mind, knowing how busy we all are, and helping you to maximize your performance smartly. So, but also as a woman, it's really important, strength and stability physiologically, possibly more than a man, because we go through different life stages. So our core is really important. Postnatally, that can create weaknesses if we don't work with our core. Our posture, if we improve our strength, we get better posture, which means better biomechanics. It helps to injury-proof our body, which, as I said, means better consistency. Efficiency, a kind of 10-week, one of the studies I've looked at, a 10-week strength training program for female distance runners, compared a group that trained 3 times a week just running, and a group that trained 3 times running and had 3 sessions of strength and conditioning a week. Both groups ran about 30 miles a week. The 3 times a week strength training group improved their upper body strength by 24.4% and their lower body by 33.8%. That is a massive gain from 3 times a week training. And as I say, 3 times a week training, you might think, how am I going to fit that in and get to the gym? And I think what lockdown has shown us at Girls Run the World is virtual training in particular. So live Zoom workouts that we do, and lots of people are doing them. It means that people are able, particularly women, to be much more consistent with their training, because it doesn't involve having to go somewhere else, fit another thing in. You just get up, turn your computer on, out of bed, and you're done in 30 minutes. So whether it's with us or somebody else, or doing it on your own, incorporate strength training, because that becomes more important the older you get. So if you've had children, then it's vital that you kind of get that core stability to improve your efficiency. And then the older you get, we lose 3 to 5% of muscle mass as we get older, from age 30 onwards. So you really want to be replacing those muscles, because that's what drives your running. So number 3 is life stage. So stage, which relates both to life stage and your menstrual cycle. So we talked yesterday, we did a seminar yesterday on running through the menopause. So I'm not going to touch on that too much, because that's a whole massive subject in and of itself, as is postnatal running. But in terms of your menstrual cycle, there's been studies that have shown that over 50% of elite female runners have said their menstrual cycle has affected their training and their performance. And that obviously goes for all of us anecdotally. We know it does. We know that we feel rubbish sometimes when we're running, that we're all like thinking, please make me not get a period on my race day. And it's not just because of thinking about toilets, it's thinking it makes me feel a bit yuck, and that affects my performance. In the past, nobody studied it, because not many women were involved in endurance sport, or the people that were involved in studying it were men and weren't thinking about that. Nowadays, in the last kind of 5 years, I'd say that momentum and that understanding has really gathered pace. There are great apps out there now, Fitter and Clue for one, which helps you to track your cycle and exactly how you feel during that cycle. So I would really recommend that you start keeping a note of that and start recognizing when in your cycle is good and when is not. So in that first phase of your cycle, follicular, your estrogen is higher, and it's known to increase glycogen storage, ability to burn fat, and your muscles' ability to use oxygen. So that first part of your cycle means everything's going to feel easier. Second half of your cycle, as progesterone starts to rise and estrogen drops off, you get an increase in your heart rate, temperature, and breathing. So you've ever had those kind of training runs when you go out and you're like, I have no idea, that just felt absolutely horrible. It felt so hard, and I don't understand, because I ate well, I slept well. It could be just about where you are in your cycle. So start connecting with that, thinking about your cycle, get one of those apps, track it, so you've got a much more awareness of where you're at with your cycle. And as I say, life stage is a whole other issue. If you check in with our platform, we will probably edit the information about running through the menopause. So if you're at that stage and you want to listen to that seminar, go onto our website and you'll find our YouTube channel. So the 4th S is sleep. So this is a study. Sorry, as I was saying, we had difficulty with our slides this morning. So some of the study research is not on there. But one of the studies showed that napping may be beneficial for athletes who have to routinely wake up early for training or competitions, and for athletes who are experiencing sleep deprivation. Now, for me, that could be completely also referring to every single woman who has kids and is juggling kids, training, and work. So studies also show that a 30-minute nap in athletes suffering from sleep loss improves sprint performance and cognitive ability. So again, you hear a lot of women, when you're training, you often think, I don't have time. If it comes down to trying to fit your tempo session in, your interval session, your long run, sleep and recovery is the last thing that comes. We kind of think, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just get up really early and do that really long run, and then I'll get home, sort the kids out, and then I'll go to work. It's fine. And then I can probably get home and manage that strength and conditioning circuit or that tempo bit. And sleep and recovery comes way, way down the line. But it's really important because it's in sleep and recovery, which is where our bodies adapt to the training we put it through and get stronger. So if you're not recovering properly, you are undermining all of your training work and all that stress that you're putting into trying to fit things in. You're just undermining it. So you might be sitting here listening and thinking, yeah, great, but how am I going to actually fit more sleep in? I can't do that. Sleep doesn't actually necessarily meaning you have to have like another 2 hours sleep. Obviously, in an ideal world, we'd all get the 8 hours we're meant to have. But you can also get the gains from literally sitting and doing a 10-minute yoga session, or turning off your phone and sitting in the garden for 10 minutes. I think all of us have probably experienced during lockdown that just increase in space and time that we have had when we've not had to commute, and that difference that can have just having literally 5 minutes in your garden can have a really good effect on your parasympathetic nervous system, which helps your body to recover in a similar way to sleep. 10-minute sleep. I think we had someone here at the seminar yesterday who said that because they're working from home, they have actually been able to go for 10-minute naps during the day. So that is absolutely great. But I think it's really important to think of recovery, and that if you can't get sleep can mean doing yoga sessions, can mean anything. It has the same kind of benefit. So sleep, really vital as well. And then the last one is consistency. Stick to it. So sticking with my 5 S's for this presentation, stick with it means your consistency. So as you can see from the slide, in December 2008, a report on the Journal of Sport and Exercise Psychology showed that middle-aged athletic individuals who retain a high level of performance do so likely because they have maintained years of uninterrupted practice, consistently have shorter off-season periods, and exhibit higher weekly amounts of practice and avoid injury. And I would say this is one of the most important things for improvement, is staying consistent. We do some Instagram live interviews with amazing female athletes. And we spoke to a woman called Jane Hanson about a couple of weeks ago, who's a champion triathlete, came from a background in London where she smoked and drank, worked in advertising, decided to run a marathon because she had to for her clients, ran that really well, and then ended up going to Kona for an Ironman. And she obviously, very stressful life, juggles a high profile job, had gone out with clients, got back in 9 o'clock, had to do a 3-hour ride on a turbo. 1 hour into it, and was text her coach, was like, oh, I don't know whether I can get through this. Should I just leave this one because I've had a really heavy day? And he went, just suffer through it. I'm not sure I'd quite use suffer, but the point is that it's about being consistent, even if you maybe don't do the session as planned. For instance, a tempo session, you've gone out for a run, you're training for a marathon, and the tempo session, you just think, oh, actually, I'm just going to leave that because I'm too tired. Just do the session as best you can, because it's the consistency of those sessions that build up those mental blocks that you call on to help you through a race. But also consistency just means you keep on that movement, that kind of movement and that training. So staying consistent with your training is massively important. And that from a woman comes from going right the way back to our first step about strategy. You can't remain consistent with your training if you have scattergun approached your event races, haven't really thought first whether the event that you really want to do is realistic in terms of the time you have to train. So right from the word go, you want to set yourself up for success in choosing the right goal for you at your life stage now. So I never like to say to anyone, oh, you can't, you shouldn't do that. It's about thinking about what your goals are for now, for 2 years, for 3 years. So if you have this desire to do the UTMB, Ultra Mont Blanc, aside from the fact, obviously, it takes you about 2 years to get into the ballot, but say you want to do that and you've got a really full-on job project coming up, or your kids that are really young school age and you know they're going to need a lot, or flip side teenage age, then kind of think about what's practical, and if you can't do that, what can you do that will support your journey towards that goal later on down the line, so you still tick off your achievement goals, your endorphins, but you've kind of planned and strategized for success right from the beginning, so that you can stay consistent, you can do your strength training, you're aware of your stage, and you can get your sleep in. So that kind of foundation movement starts right from the beginning. So they're the 5 S's for improved female performance. So if any of you got any questions, then you can ask them now, or ask them and I'll come back to you in the comments later on. As I say, Girls Run the World, our platform provides online streamed video training in everything. So we try to be the one-stop platform for everything, providing strength and conditioning, yoga. We have a physio on there, provides rehab programs to get back to running. And we're all about empowering women to achieve their goals in running and triathlon. So thanks for joining me. If you've got any questions about any of the seminar, if you want any of the slides, then do get in touch, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.